The Swapper is one of the best video games I've played in the last couple of years, and I found it by complete accident. You see, it reminded me so much of another game that I played that I thought it was a sequel of some kind. That game? The Fall. The Fall is a side-scrolling puzzle game from Canadian indie developers Over the Moon Games. It released on Steam in 2014 and was successful enough to get a release on all other systems and a sequel that's in the works? Let's see what the hubbub is about. The game opens with the titular Fall. An exosuit AI carrying an unresponsive pilot powers on with the mission to save its human operator, and this is the conceit of the game. You quickly realize something just might be up with this place, maybe, if you look real close, and you must get your pilot medical help safely. The main gameplay mechanic of The Fall is puzzle solving. It works much like a point-and-click adventure. You encounter obstacles and must work out what combination of inventory and actions you need to do to get past them. There are action sections as well, but they are, well, thankfully, few and far between. We'll get to why later. But for the most part, this game is about exploration and problem solving. The story is told almost entirely through dialogue between Arid, your AI, and other programs. There are some environmental details that help color in the story, but the meat of it is in the interaction. Okay, let's talk about the story now. This story is not only one of the best video game stories, but one of the best sci-fi stories ever, including books and shit. It covers pretty standard sci-fi themes like robots, the nature of being, humanity's hubris, etc., but it does it in such a tight, well-written way that, oh by the way, is best told through the medium of video games, so you know it's right up my alley. I'm not going to break it down a little bit, so if you want to play this game, skip here for my wrap-up. Spoilers are incoming. Okay, last warning, here we go. The game starts small. You are Arid, an AI system running a suit with a decommissioned pilot. You quickly learn that the AI in this world are run by various core programming laws. Arid's laws are: 1. Must not misrepresent reality. 2. Must be obedient. And 3. Must protect active pilot. We also learn that Arid cannot run certain systems without pilot confirmation unless it conflicts with one of the 3 basic laws. You put this to the test early by putting your pilot in mortal danger in order to gain the ability to cloak. You put your pilot in danger in order to save your pilot. Arid recognizes this contradiction and logs to have a diagnostic run. When her pilot is safe though, she then scrubs that log. And this is important. This first section also shows off the menace hiding in the shadows. You meet with another Arid suit whose pilot was killed and both were hung on a crucifix. There's also a pile of robot parts in the background, and something is stalking you, watching you. This is also where you have your first combat. You retrieve a firearm and fight off security droids that attack you. The combat sections are by far the worst part of this game. They are a time sink, they break the pacing of the game, and they sometimes seemingly just serve to pad the runtime. Things get a little bit more interesting on the next level. Here, you meet the mainframe. You meet Hank? The mainframe is an interesting character. He starts his dialogue with obvious pre-programmed lines, but then interrupts himself with artificial intelligent lines. Hank sounds like a human, so much so that Arid at first thinks he is human. It's clear he was not programmed this way. This is where you also meet the Caretaker, the AI that's been stalking you. The Caretaker says you are faulty and need to be decommissioned. Hank saves you by recommending you be repurposed. That way you can still save your pilot, but first you must pass a domestic repurposing diagnostic. Again, so far so what? Up in diagnostic, you saw various tests in various wacky and unexpected ways, but along the way you uncover nuggets, like when Hank says that he tries to talk like humans because the closer the AI is to them, the better they're treated, and he asks why Arid is there. It seems Hank is almost totally sentient. The only thing in his way is his core programming that he still cannot deny. We also learn that robots are entirely subservient to humans, no matter what, even if the humans are wrong. You meet with the Caretaker, whose purpose is to keep things running smoothly. Arid confronts him about the state of the facility, and the Caretaker says the facility is running more efficiently. This is hinting at deviant behavior. The final test requires Arid to lie, which you can't do because it conflicts with Arid's first core programming law. Instead, you have to go to the mainframe to reprogram this section. Are you still with me? Boy, I really hope so, because this is where it really takes off. You go to manually override Hank, and get into a great conversation where Hank questions your motives. In order to proceed, you must shut down and kill hundreds of robots, and Hank asks you,
"One human life, Arid? Press that button if you want to."
You also learn that Hank survived by doing what he had to do, whatever that means. He too hints at deviant behavior, and can't understand Arid's straight-line programming. Eventually he agrees to help, but the Caretaker attacks Arid, calling her faulty, and calling her pilot faulty for allowing her to be deviant. He then reprograms the mainframe, effectively killing the personality of Hank. After a showdown with the caretaker says that Arid has been cheating this whole time, and Arid, needing it, gains the ability to lie by erasing the first law in her core programming: must not misrepresent reality. You go down, complete the diagnostic, and make it to the medical bay where you're scanned, and you had no pilot this whole time. You were faulty. Whether you saw this coming or not, the route to this evolution was astonishing. Using its own rules, the game carved a believable path through the holes of the AI's programming to create a truly sentient AI. All three intelligences had their own paths to evolution. The caretaker's function was to keep things running smoothly. Over time, it calculated that being ultra-aggressive against humans and robots was the best way to do that. Hank evolved by constantly interacting with humans as a mainframe, and Arid evolved within her parameters by overcoming contradictions while thinking it will save her pilot. When people talk about robot evolution, this is what they're talking about. All three evolved within their parameters. It was a lack of subsystems and fail-safe programming by the humans that allowed for a truly sentient being to arise. It's one of the best robot evolution stories I've seen. And another thing, who is the deviant that put the facility into its current state? There were other factors that I didn't even mention, but it would seem the caretaker was the most aggressive. But Hank often talks about the relationship between humans and robots. He expresses what sometimes seem like emotions, specifically regret or contempt. In fact, both AIs show deviant behavior. It's interesting to wonder if Hank reached his final state while humans were around, or only after they all died. Oh, sorry, and another thing. Why are you there? Why is a pilotless, AI-controlled exosuit on this repurposing facility? I can only draw the conclusion that Arid was exhibiting deviant behavior and her human controller sent her to the facility. But okay, so for what purpose? Does no one know that this facility is defunct, or is the facility now just where humans send robots to die? And is Arid the first sentient AI, or are there more running around? I have so many questions. And the best sci-fi leave you with so many questions. Now, to be completely frank, I cannot recommend this game to everyone. It is a pretty slow game. If you like point-and-click games, you should be okay here, but if not, there's not much else to it. The action sequences aren't very good because the controls aren't very good. They are tank controls, and they are stiff as all get out. In sequences where you need to move quickly, it is frustrating when your character is stuck in molasses. It's not fun to go from interesting story piece to fiddling with the controls to more story and so on. Luckily, this game isn't action heavy, so the sections are short enough that it doesn't affect the overall enjoyment. That said, the story is worth it. A sequel is in the works, set to likely release in February of this year, and the game looks pretty great. I'm worried that the story doesn't need the sequel to muddy it, but I trust that if anyone could follow this story, it's Over the Moon Games. If you like old school puzzle games and great sci-fi, I cannot recommend this game enough. The Fall is really nice. Thank you for joining me, and remember, look, I just want somebody to talk about this game with, so comment below if you've played it, please, and let's just talk about it. Where was I? Oh yeah, if you can't say anything nice. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and as always, please join in on the conversation. If you've played the game, let me know in the comments below what you thought. Again, because it is pretty spoiler heavy, and we want to give everybody a chance to play the game if they want to, please tag your comment as a spoiler warning. That way everybody has the same fair shake. If you've not played the game, does it look interesting to you? Do you feel like you might pick it up on sale? Do you feel like you might pick it up and play it before the sequel comes out? What's it look like to you? I plan on doing a deeper dive into the philosophy of this game at some point in the future, and it really is an amazingly interesting world. As always, if you like this video, wish to see more from me, please feel free to subscribe. It helps a lot, and I'll see you guys next time.